Story 1. For the sake of length I'll try to stick to the facts and keep it brief. I, 50M, legally have 3 children with my ex, 51, Adam, 23M, Chris, 21M, and Sophie, 18F. Biologically the first 2 children are mine and youngest is the result of my wife's infidelity. I discovered this the day when Sophie was 2 years old and we had to rush Sophie to the emergency room. I filed for divorce 2 months later. I got 50-50 custody of my own children, but since Sophie was legally mine, I had to pay child support for her and was very bitter and resentful about it. I tried to fight it at first but in the end decided to suck it up to save myself the stress, but I made it very clear to my ex that outside of child support I would take no other responsibility for the girl and would shut down any attempts at being her father, but I would make the effort to still be polite to Sophie. After some time I learned to trust again and remarried a wonderful woman who made it very clear that she and her daughter were a package deal. I accepted this and did everything I could to try and be there for my stepdaughter Katie, 17F. Aside from the typical ups and downs, I would say I managed to make a great family life for myself. We'd have family nights, I attended most after-school events, took my family on fun vacations and put my sons through school and paid for their apartments and cars. They were on their own for gas money. Chris is expected to graduate this coming summer and I made a silly post on social media about how relieved I was going to be that I only had one more kid to put through school left. A couple of days later I got a message from my ex asking me to pay for Sophie's college expenses on my own since the pandemic has made money tight. I asked her what she meant and referred to my post, and I reminded her that my legal obligation to Sophie ended the day she turned 18 and that I was talking about Katie. My ex was furious, demanded to know why I was willing to pay for Katie and not Sophie since neither of them are related to me. I countered by saying that I knew upfront Katie wasn't my biological child and agreed to care for her instead of being conned into doing it like I was for Sophie. After that I got a call from Sophie asking what she did to make me hate her so much and to leave her feeling so excluded. I told her softly that I don't hate her and that nothing about this situation was her fault, but the simple truth is that it wasn't personal, I'm just not her father. Since then my sons have told me that Sophie was becoming really depressed. My ex is blaming me, but I don't see what I have to do with it. AITA? Edit, just to be clear because I keep seeing the same questions. 1. The kids know why I divorced their mother. 2. My ex claims that Sophie was the result of a one-night stand and doesn't know who her father is, which is one of the reasons why I was kept on the hook for CS3. After I learned the truth I was very angry and didn't think I could handle raising a child that I was tricked into caring for, so I decided to keep my distance. 4. Just because Sophie wasn't mine and I treated as such doesn't mean that I was horrible to the girl. I also made sure that my children knew that what happened between their mother and me was not Sophie's fault and they should never be mean to her. Update: mods didn't approve separate post, so here it is. Thank you to everyone for their kind words of support. A lot of you have suggested therapy and for the longest time I never felt like I needed it, but after everything new that's happened I've decided that talking to a professional won't hurt. I thought I buried my anger and hurt toward my ex years ago, but now new information has been revealed that's just making me angry all over again. Not too long after my initial fight with my ex, she and Sophie got into a fight that ended up so bad that Sophie was kicked out of the home. Sophie called her brothers and they in turn called me, and she is currently staying with my wife, Katie, and I. Apparently, in spite of my efforts to maintain a boundary, my ex kept telling Sophie that if she was well behaved and did good in school that I would think of her as a daughter again. It was my ex's way of getting Sophie to be obedient. When I made my post, Sophie thought that I was finally giving her the validation that my ex had always promised, and when I didn't it was just chaos. Sophie called my ex horrible names and demanded to know who her bio dad. My ex refused and told her if she was going to be disrespectful she had to live elsewhere. Originally, some of you suggested that in spite of Sophie's blood type she could still be my daughter, and that was really starting to get to me. Now that Sophie was staying with me I took some of her DNA and sent it off for testing and couldn't believe the results that I sent it again for a second time. To my shock, Sophie and I are indeed related, she's just not my daughter. Like I said, the bad feelings are all starting to come back to me again, but this new information is just putting me in a bad place again. I don't even know how or when to break the news to Sophie or how to even confront my ex about any of this. I feel like such a fool. Story 2. My 44M wife, 41F, lied about the paternity of our daughter. I don't know how it happened and I haven't been able to stop crying all day. I never cheated. I love my husband, we've been together since college and he's the love of my life. He's handsome and kind, and while I've slept with 2 other people, both were before we got together. There is no other potential father for our daughter. We were married already and actively trying for a baby. I never cheated, I never would cheat, and I don't know why he took that stupid test because I would never, ever cheat, but it came back negative and now he thinks he's not her dad. I don't know how to convince him it was a faulty test and I'm so scared. These past few months it's like he's become someone completely different from the man I married. He's cold, and suspicious. He kept demanding to see my phone, and wouldn't tell me why, and I showed him at first but eventually told him I wouldn't anymore unless he explained why. He's been distant with our daughter too. He stays in his office for hours on end, and I don't know what he's doing. I did not cheat. He accused me this morning, saying he'd done the test after realizing that our daughter's eyes, brown, wouldn't naturally come from ours, both blue, and that he wanted me to get out of the house. I didn't leave and he locked me out of our bedroom and now I'm in my daughter's room. This is terrifying. What should I do? Edit. The specific advice I want is how I can prove I'm innocent and how to make sure this relationship works. I want to keep my family together at all costs. Also, I just had a conversation with my husband. He's out of his room now, and we discussed some things. I told him again that I would never cheat and started talking about a list I made of tests I want done, but he told me that he didn't want to hear it right now. We're going to have a longer conversation tomorrow and he said that he still loves our daughter, and he won't try to keep me out of the house or our room for now. I asked him to hug me and he did. I'm scared that I won't be able to convince him. I just want our family to go back to normal. How can I be a good wife and support his needs while proving my innocence? Update. Hi everyone. First off, I wanted to thank everyone who reached out. My original post got so much attention, it was hard to get to everything, but I ended up making a list of plans and tests I wanted to get done. My husband was, understandably, distrustful of me for a while, but he apologized for the way he acted, which I didn't need, and said that he wouldn't try to kick me out of our home. He did say, though, that if every test came back and I'd cheated, then he was going to go scorched earth. We did a few tests. Blood paternity tests for him and me, and our daughter, and we had an appointment with a chimerism specialist coming up, but that got cancelled because, well, some of you guessed it, but my daughter is not biologically mine either. I don't know how this happened, but a police officer came to our house and took our statements, and we're suing the hospital where I gave birth. I don't know what happened to my baby, and that is terrifying. I have my husband back, but my whole world was still upended, and I just wish he'd never taken that stupid test. I've been sleeping in my daughter's room, and I'm so afraid that she's going to be taken away from me, but at the same time I want to know where my biological daughter is, and if she's okay. I pray to God she's okay. My daughter still doesn't know the details, and we've been trying to keep this quiet. The last thing we need is a big scandal. I don't want people who know us to look at her differently. She deserves better than that, she's such a good kid, and she's not some spectacle to be gawked at. If we can find her birth family, I have no idea what we'll do. I guess the best case scenario would be to get a bigger house and all live together, but I don't know if we can afford that, or if they'd go for that, or even if we'll be able to locate them, or if I'm just crazy. This whole situation is crazy. I don't know anyone else who's been in a situation like this. I mean, are there support groups for parents of kids who got mixed up? I googled and nothing came up. Literally all I'm getting are tabloid articles from trashy magazines that slap the faces of innocent kids on the same pages as celebrity sex scandals, and fiction. How do we tell our daughter? I mean, we can't tell her now, she'll tell the kids at school and then it'll be everywhere, but we have to say something. I don't know what I ever did to deserve this. Hello, everyone. So, apparently a YouTuber my husband watches called Mark Narrations decided that it would be a fun idea to read my post on his channel. My husband recognized the story, because, well, of course he recognized the story, how could he not? This doesn't happen every day. Then he went on my account page. Then he found quite a few comments about him that were not exactly nice. And now, he has asked me for a chance to post his side of the story on this account, so that people stop trashing him. Please be nice. So, I don't know how many of you have been down a self-doubt rabbit hole before, but it's not the most logical place to be. It's even less logical when you have the whole damn internet telling you that your wife is cheating, and that she's planning to take the house, and take you for all you're worth, and never really loved you, and you always sorta thought she was too good for you anyway. So you end up seeing everything as a sign of infidelity, and then you get not one, but 2 failed paternity tests on your daughter. When COVID happened, I got fat. I got depressed. I stopped feeling like a person. My wife stayed beautiful. She stayed herself. I was sure that she'd made a mistake. That she'd regret being with me. I started getting into some online groups, especially on Reddit, that were full of guys who'd been cheated on, lost custody, lost everything. And when someone said that his tip-off was that he and his wife both had blue eyes and their son had brown, I felt fucking stupid. I did not want to jump to conclusions, but when I made a post about my fears, everyone said that she was cheating. People said not to say anything, because she'd use it to hide her cheating and get ahead of me on the divorce. I got the test and I didn't really think it'd come back negative. Then it did. I didn't want to believe it, but yeah, I pulled back. I felt betrayed. I wanted to be a good husband, but I couldn't shake this. I tried to find evidence of an affair, and failed. I got another test. When that one was also negative, I snapped. If you've ever been cheated on, you know what it feels like. When my wife denied it, I got angrier. I just wanted her to leave. I didn't want to go through what everyone seemed to think was going to happen. I didn't want to lose custody of my kid. I didn't want to lose my house. I was scared, and angry, and I wanted the truth. I felt like if she couldn't even be honest, there was no getting past this. I took a few hours to calm down. When she came back with a list of tests to take, I tried to keep my cool. I tried to keep my cool for so long. I know I was wrong about the affair, but so was everyone else in my ear. My kid is genuinely not biologically mine. I didn't immediately consider that switched at birth was an option. I've been through a messed up time, and I don't think getting angry one time because I thought my wife cheated and was lying about it makes me a monster. Hi, it's Fully Faithful Wife here again. I just want to say that one. I agree that he's not a monster, an abuser, or anything of the sort. 2. I do not agree that he's fat. I love this man very much and have for ages, and we are not going to let this situation break our marriage. Thank you to everyone for all your help.